this video, a college student asked Frank Turek a gut-wrenching question about morality and actions as it relates to serving God. All right, let's go ahead and check it out.
Dr. Turek, I'm only asking if you would murder your wife or children to prove your devotion. It's a simple question.
I don't know what would happen. And by the way, when God decides that someone should die, it's not murder for him.
Dr. Turek, God commanded you to murder your wife or children to prove your faith in God. Is your current devotion not enough to prove your faith? Must you murder your children as Abraham was instructed?
First of all, I don't know what I would do.
This is a simple yes or no question, Doc.
I don't know what I would do in Abraham's position. That's a good question. You know who really struggled with that? Soren Kierkegaard, who wrote a book called...
Is your faith strong enough to murder your own children or wife?
I'm thinking, and since I'm from New Jersey, it's really hard for me to do, so give me a minute. The book is called Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. So I don't know what I would do, just like I'm never going to say if somebody put a gun to my head or a gun to my wife's head, what would you do? Because Peter tried that. I'll never deny you, Lord. And what did he do?
He denied him 3 times. Yes, at the crucifixion.
I don't know what I would do, okay? But let me point out, if your friend is an atheist, there's nothing wrong with God doing anything, because by atheism, there's no standard of right and wrong anyway. So in order for you to bring up the objection, you're actually stealing a standard from God in order to try and say God doesn't exist.
Now, it is true that with every promise comes a test, but I believe it's illogical to say or to try and compare us today doing what Abraham was asked to do. Understand the promise was that he would have an inheritance and descendants that were as numerous as the stars in the sky. And to act like that same promise would be applicable to us today on that same level and context, I believe is completely illogical. And atheists very often forget and only focus on what the command was, but they forget that God didn't allow Isaac to be killed. Okay, it was pointing to something that was going to one day come, which was Jesus Christ, who would become our substitute and die for us and save us. The story of Abraham was so complex and his obedience was so complex that even today in 2024, Christians can have a faith in God because of Abraham's obedience. And again, to not kill his son. He didn't kill his son, but he was obedient to God.
So in order for you to bring up the objection, you're actually stealing a standard from God in order to try and say God doesn't exist.
Dr. Turek, I'm only asking if you would murder your wife or children to prove your devotion. It's a simple question.
I don't know what would happen. And by the way, when God decides that someone should die, it's not murder for him. Because God kills all of us at some point, and he's the only one that can resurrect us. So we don't have the right to murder people, but God has the right to kill people anytime he wants. He can strike me down today, tomorrow, anytime he wants, and it's completely in his prerogative.
God has the right to slaughter the Amalekites down to the last man, woman, and child.
God has the right to take us out anytime we want, because if Christianity's true, men don't really die, we just change location. And God can do that anytime he wants. So thank you for your question.
It is stunning to me that massacre and genocide gets applaud in this building. God demands slaughter, massacre, and genocide.
All right, Cody, there's nothing wrong with genocide if atheism's true.
Are you serious?
If atheism's true, there is nothing wrong with genocide.
I am an atheist and I oppose genocide in every possible... in every way.
But that's just your personal opinion, because there's no standard beyond you which says it's wrong.
The standard that says it's correct, that I will help my fellow human up to and including you, especially you, doctor, that I would never harm anyone in this room.
Okay, I'm glad.
Atheism, are you suggesting that atheism allows or purports or wants genocide? I know you wouldn't say, you would never say that.
Yes, atheism does allow it. You can ask Mao, you can ask Stalin, you can ask Pol Pot, because if there is no authority beyond the government, they are God.
All right, so in closing, I just wanted to quickly say that, again, the complexity of Abraham's obedience points to so much, and this is a topic of conversation we could have for a long time, but one thing I believe it points to is protesting against child sacrifice, I would even say. As we see many nations, they would serve Baal, right? And they would give offerings to the god Baal and promote child sacrifice and live that lifestyle. And here I would say God is saying, no, don't do that. No one can die in the name of a god to bring about anything beneficial for you. So that's why he sent Jesus Christ to die for us, so we could have true relationship and communication with God. And again, that's why the Baals that's why they sacrificed to the Baals, so they could be on the good side of God and have relationship and connection. And God is saying here, I believe this is protesting against that. So there's so much more we could say about that, but let's just wrap it up. And I pray that you have a blessed day. Put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. Amen.